you know what, guys? In a nice way, y'all. We don't give a shit.
This, but you know, for the people that are big Sark fans and believers in Sark and everything, you tell me how are you going to take up for Sark when you're on the 1 yard line, the 2 and the 1 yard line, you got back-to-back defensive pass interference calls.
But talking about the back-to-back
and you're
calls and being on the 1 yard line.
Why are you running it towards the fucking sidelines?
Running a toss sweep out of shotgun. Not even under center, from a shotgun.
Silly shit.
You know, that makes absolutely no sense. You got 6 attempts from the 1 yard line, and you're not going to punch it up in there? I mean, I'd rather get my ass fired for trying to run the ball between the tackles 6 times and not getting in than running a damn toss sweep on the goal line.
I'll tell you what. We're gonna get into something about the SEC Big Ten conversation here in a few minutes, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you're a fucking SEC program and you can't run the football and get 1 yard, are you really an SEC program? If you can't line it up from the 1 yard line and you've got at least 5 tries at least, at the very least, and you can't punch it in on one of those. Are you really?
I agree.
Are you really an SEC team? Because I don't buy it. Stupidest shit I've ever seen too. It was the fact that that toss sweep, and then not only that though. Well, Caleb Downs sniffs that one out, and then they go to a rollout for Quinn right after that. The defensive end doesn't get touched by your right tackle, and he comes and knocks it out, and you got a touchdown on the other end. Man. It ain't that hard to go. This is the difference in what we talked about before with these bunch of air raid dudes that are soft in what they do, or air raid, or you don't have to call it the air raid necessarily, but these pass first coaches that don't get under center ever. This shit don't work. This shit don't work.
But you got to punch the ball in down there, you know. And now now you're talking. It's a ball game. You didn't. I mean, wow. You know, 2 things in that ball game: that screen right before the half for Ohio State that went the distance, and then you get held on the 1 yard line. Guys, those 2 things are big turnarounds. It's a ball game both ways. You know.
Well, you're looking to go down and tie it, and now you're down 14 because of it being a scoop and score turnover, kind of deal. But
sure.
But if you're running it from under center and just pounding the rock there, first off, I would venture to say maybe you have a chance to get in. I was on another show the other day, and shout out to Rawhide, but they were talking about, okay, do you go with Arch there at that moment? Because earlier in the game, he had punched one across on a 4th down where they used him running the football. And a couple of the guys that were on the show were like, why would you do that? Why would you go to your second string quarterback in that situation? Well, because your second string quarterback is a threat to run the ball, and Quinn isn't.
Agreed.
He's never been a running guy. I don't remember ever seeing him scramble.
No, he's not a runner.
That's not what he does. So if you even just the simple act of putting Arch in the game means it's now a hat on a hat.
Yeah.
You're not going to be double teaming anybody. You're not going to do any of that kind of shit. It's now becomes a hat on a hat because you have to account for everybody on that football team.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you're thinking Notre Dame is going to do run a sweep or anything on the 1 yard line,
No way.
you're nuts.
Never.
We're gonna run that son of a bitch right at you.
Mhm.
And if it's 4 times, 6 times, we're gonna run between the tackles every time. And you're either gonna get Jeremiah Love, or you're gonna get Jadarian Price, or you're gonna get Leonard Riley. But we're running the ball between the tackles. And we ain't no SEC powerhouse, boys and girls.
And you're
But
gonna
here
do
we
it from under
come.
center too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's the one
Not
thing.
gonna be in the damn shotgun.
Aside from us, how many people were saying that they could play as physical as Georgia whenever they went into that game? We talked about that. You know,
Right.
Shotty was saying that there ain't no way. And I was like, I didn't say that they were going to out physical. I said that they're going to play physical just like you. You're not going to just be able to overpower them either. We said it. And I've been saying, and I agree. I think that that's the same thing here. Do I think that Ohio State has better, has more opportunities, particularly with the injury situation? Yes, I do. Do I think they're just going to go in there and roll you by 40? Hell no. No way. I think this comes down to the end of the game. I think that whoever makes the plays in the trenches, the tough guy plays the most, is going to come out on top of this one. Whoever
I think it's going to be won by right. I think it's going to be won by a field goal.
Could very easily be won by a field goal.
And I tell you what,
shit.
Hey, and Shotty, I like my kicker. He's scoring a lot of points.
Yeah.
That guy that we were talking a lot of shit about, boys and girls.
Well, that guy was hurt all year, so they were the worst kicking team in the country. And now all of a sudden he's healthy, drilling 50-yarders. That guy ain't scared of shit.
And he's consistent at 50.
No. Mm-hmm.
Pretty consistent. So no, I think, like I said earlier, I think it comes down to the trenches. And again, Jason, you said it. We're going to fight like hell in the trenches and defensively. I mean, I think it'll be a good ball game. I really do. Yeah. I think we got the best 2 teams out of the 12-team bracket, no doubt.
Yeah, no doubt, and especially how the best 2 teams in this field. So, as far as how they've played throughout clearly they're both here, so they obviously had to do what they had to do. But
well, you know what? We both had horrific losses. If we would go back to the 14 playoff, neither one of us would be even in this thing.
Yeah, I think it was Orca that brought that up a few minutes ago. That if this was still a 14 playoff, they're neither one of them in it.
But you know what? It's not. And so there's no use in even having that discussion because
I'm not sure that Notre Dame wouldn't have been in there because their ranking was number 3. And they didn't, and if in the 14 playoff, they didn't have to get the conference champions in. That bullshit.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole damn different conversation.
You might have still been there, but in the end, yeah, probably not. Somebody would have made an excuse on the NIU loss or whatever.
Sure.
To find a way to not put Notre Dame in. We know Ohio State wouldn't have been in there, and it would have been a different deal for them. I think that, Ryan Day probably owes his job to the 12-team playoff at this point, right? Because
and to Michigan.
Right.
Well, from the perspective. And you know what? Both teams, I got to tell you, masterful job by both coaching staffs by taking a terrible loss and building momentum off of those losses. And like Coach Freeman says, you learn from every loss. You can learn from every loss.
Sure.
And they did from week 2, and so did Ryan Day and his staff. So they've used it to propel themselves. And which I love this guys, because, and not just because Notre Dame got their ass beaten week 2, but you know what? I don't care how good a football team you are. On any given night or Saturday afternoon, you can get beat. But that shouldn't define your whole season if you continue to play well and win ball games.
Oh, the truth, I mean, we like to act like there's a bunch of undefeated teams in the playoff every time, but there hasn't been. Losses happen, man. Losses to teams that should never beat you happen. It happens every
Exactly.
year, all the time, to every team in college football too. I don't care how blue your blood is. You can lose to some of these teams that should never beat you, ever. It happens.
Be careful for the Appalachian states, and
Hell yes. Hell
they,
yes.
they can beat you.
They can. And so, in the end, I think it's been a wild and crazy college football season, just like Ohio State champ says. I think it's been more fun than any season I can remember in a long time, because of the fact that I think it's made it more intriguing to me, because you don't just think, okay, there's these 4 teams and we automatically believe, okay, yeah, they're the only 4 that could have won this thing. Okay, maybe. But more times than not, you don't always get what you're expecting. And chalk's a lot easier to go through whenever it's just a 14 playoff. Now you have to deal with, well, this team may have underachieved a little bit, but they came along at the right time of the year, Ohio State. You know, that loss to Michigan lit a fire under their asses.
And you know what? You said it right there, Jason, because I think both of these football teams are peaking at the right time. They peaked at the right time, both of them.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, with Notre Dame, it sucks a little bit for me, because you're seeing these injuries continue to happen. Now, I kind of thought last week was going to burn them, because when your left tackle went out, man, that didn't look good. And you had a guy that, he had some experience. It wasn't great experience, but he had some experience. He stepped up and did his job, though.
Yeah.
And what did you hear from between first quarter and the second quarter, whenever they're talking to Marcus? The sideline reporter was kind of alluding to, what do you do to keep them from hanging their head or whatever? And he's like, that's not how we're built. I don't have to do a damn thing. That's not how we're built. We're still in this game.
Job to do.
We're still in this game. It's 3-0 right now.
Yeah. And that is the culture that he has created. And that's like he told them at halftime. We're in a fight. It's a dog fight, and we're in it. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And again, the next man up, I see a lot of people talk about next man up.
Things. They say these
exactly.
Things, they don't do it.
That's what I was going to say. I hear that next man up a lot, but I can promise you that's how Notre Dame has held together this football team, is next man up mentality, and they believe it. It's not just words. They believe it. And we're going to be on tackle number 4 going into the national championship. But you know what? Doesn't make a damn. We're going to be on our defensive end number 4. You know what? Doesn't make a damn. You know what? We're going to be playing with a freshman corner against these great receivers with a freshman corner, and we lost an All-American corner. You know what, guys? It don't make a damn. It's not about, you know what? We could come out of here saying, oh, poor Notre Dame. We've got so many injuries, and I don't know if we stand a chance. You know what? We don't give a shit. Next man up. Here we go. We've done it all year, and it's not going to change this week.
Well, I was going to say, if that was something that you would be concerned about, you would have been concerned about it in week 1. Yep. If that was something you were going to use as an excuse to not get it done, a la Brian Kelly, you would have done that shit a long time ago.
Exactly.
That's just not. I agree. That's the reason Notre Dame is here, is because they do have a next man up mentality.
Yeah. Absolutely. And a true one.
Yeah. Look, we had terrible injury luck at Oklahoma.